Writing happy birthday on a cake sounds simple until you try it. If your letters come out uneven, shaky, or just not how you imagined, this tutorial should help you. I'll show you 10 techniques and tips to help you write neatly on cakes, from simple tricks to make piping easier to methods that don't even require piping at all. I think the easiest writing is to print with lines. Start with the letter that's in the middle of your cake and work your way out to make sure that each word is centered on the cake. I'm using a number 8 round piping tip by Wilton for this 8-inch cake, but for a smaller cake I would use a smaller tip so that the letters don't look crammed onto the cake. Generally, the larger the hole is in your piping tip, the easier it is to write neatly, because the large width of the lines will absorb any little jerky motions of your wrist a lot better than when the piping tip is really small. Let's try another font, printing with dots at the beginning and end of each line. This is a number 4 piping tip, which is slightly smaller. And using dots makes it easier to start and finish each line neatly. Notice that with this smaller piping tip, the lines show every tiny movement of my very shaky wrists, so you have to have much steadier hands than mine to pipe neat, straight lines. My biggest tip for writing happy birthday on a cake is to chill the cake first, before you add the message, so that if you make a mistake, you can scrape it off with a toothpick or a knife or your offset spatula or palette knife, and then pipe that part again. Since the cake has been chilled, the frosting is cold and firm, and you won't damage it as you scrape. Maybe the most important thing to mention is that the consistency of your buttercream has to be just right for any piping, but especially writing letters. If the buttercream is too stiff, the lines will break apart as you pipe, and if it's too runny, the buttercream will run out of the piping bag without you squeezing it, and you'll make a big mess. If you're new to writing happy birthday on cakes, start with the cake pan you baked your cake in for practice, to check the size and spacing of your letters, and to get used to the consistency of your buttercream, which is a little bit different every time you make it, depending on temperature, humidity, and the quantities of your ingredients. Then use a toothpick to score the letters onto your cake to check the sizing and spacing of your letters. This technique is called pointillism, where you pipe lots of little dots in the shape of your letter or number. Just like with lines, with a number 8 tip, it's easier to pipe neatly than with a smaller number 4 tip. Use this trick if your hands are shaky and it's easier to pipe while resting on something. Pipe your word onto parchment or wax paper a few times if you don't like the first attempt or first few attempts, and then lift the paper up and freeze for 10 minutes. Slide an offset spatula underneath your favorite version, lift it up, and slide it off onto your cake. Let's undo this to compare my writing when I pipe straight onto the cake without being able to rest my hand on anything, and of course it's not as neat. And if you really struggle with your handwriting, try this. Trace your message in a font that you like, flip the paper over, and trace from the back so that you have the mirror image of your message. Place a piece of parchment or wax paper on top of this, and then trace it with buttercream, piping it using a small round piping tip like a number 4. It's a bit awkward to write it in reverse, but having something to trace makes it much easier. Lift this up, flip it over, and press it buttercream side down onto your cake, pressing very gently to attach it to the cake. Then put the cake into the freezer for 10 minutes before you peel off the parchment or wax paper to reveal your beautiful message underneath. Skipping piping completely, use letter sets like these sweet stamp letters to imprint your message into your cake. For buttercream cakes, it's best to put them into the fridge to chill the frosting completely, and then take them out and let them sit at room temperature for about an hour, so that the buttercream softens slightly before you use the letters, otherwise the buttercream can crack. Arrange your letters on the cake and then push gently on all sides of the letter to imprint the whole thing. Lift the letters off, and then paint into the imprints using edible paints, or here I've mixed edible gold luster dust with a few drops of vodka, or you could use any clear flavor extract like lemon or clear vanilla or almond. I hope this has been helpful. If you're not ready to practice any of these techniques yet, save this video for later and use a cake topper instead. Tell me in the comments which technique you're going to try first, or which one surprised you the most, and if you want to learn hundreds more cake decorating techniques and designs, visit my cake school on britishgirlbakes.com. See you there! Thanks for watching!